Good afternoon to all. I am DR.N.K.PREMAVAThi, PG and Research Department of Commerce, A.D.M. College for Women, Nagapattinam. Now, I am going to present about Introduction to Cost Accounting. This presentation contains Introduction to Cost Accounting, objectives, elements of cost, overheads, characteristics of a good costing system, practical difficulties in installing a costing system. Now, for each and every business, whatever business and whatever nature of business and size of business it is, cost is very much important, because only with the ascertainment of cost, they can fix the price of a product or as well as service. Now, normally cost means the amount spent on production of a product or a service. Now, when you come to this definition of cost, cost is the amount of expenditure incurred on or attributable to a given thing. So, this is the definition given by ICMA London. So, from this definition also we can say that cost is the actual amount of expenditure which is involved in manufacturing of a product as well as for a service. Now, we come to the definition of cost accountancy. Cost accountancy, that is the application of costing and cost accounting principles, methods and techniques to the science, art and practice of cost control and the ascertainment of profitability. It includes the presentation of information derived therefrom for the purpose of managerial decision making. So, from this we can say that the application of costing, costing principles, whatever be the methods of costing and techniques that can be applied in cost accounting to make cost control. And also they have to present the report to the management for making managerial decision making. Now, about cost accounting. So, cost accounting is also the process of accounting for cost. So, process of accounting that which begins from the recording of income and expenditure. So, whatever income they earn, the company, the firm, whatever income they earn and the expenditure they meet, whatever it is. So, it begins, this cost accounting procedure begins with the recording of income and expenditure and ends with the preparation of periodical statements. So, now this cost accounting is, we can also say that it is classifying, recording and appropriate allocation of expenditure for the determination of cost of products or services and for the presentation of suitably arranged data for the purpose of control and guidance of management. So, here it is referring, classifying, recording and appropriate allocation of expenditure. That means the expenditure may be for production as well as for administration or for office expenses, selling expense, whatever it is. So, that expense should be classified and that should be appropriated to a proper location, whether it is administration or selling to which product. So, it should be apportioned properly. So, that only it is given as cost accounting is classifying, recording and appropriate allocation of expenditure for the determination of cost. Then, when we come to this objectives of cost accounting, first of all, we can say that it is to ascertain the cost under different situations using different techniques and systems of costing. So, here ascertaining the cost under different situation in the sense, it may be for a product or for a job or for a contract, whatever it is, they have to ascertain the cost for each and every situation. And the second objective is to determine the selling prices under different circumstances. So, selling prices are fixed only based on the cost. So, only based on the cost and also profit margin, selling prices are fixed. So, the objective of cost accounting is also to determine the selling prices under different circumstances. And then to determine and control efficiency by setting standards for materials, labor and overheads. Here we say that to determine and control efficiency. So control means, first of all, setting standards and measuring the actual performance, and then this standards to be matched with or compared with the actual performance to find the variation. If there is any variation, the causes for variation to be find out and to rectify this. So that is the control procedure. So to make this control efficiency by setting standards not only for materials but for labor and also for overheads. Next, another objective of cost accounting is to determine the value of closing inventory for preparing financial statements of the concern. So inventory here refers not only the closing stock, but it also includes raw material, work in progress and also closing stock, finished goods. So the business firms at any time, they can value the inventory value, stock value or value of raw material or value of work in progress at any time for preparing the financial statements of the concern. Financial statements here we refer the profit and loss account, trading account, profit and loss account and also the balance sheet. Now finally, the objective is to provide a basis for operating policies which may be determination of cost. So operating policies may be, we can say that the managerial policies regarding pricing, labor policies, wage policies, and for all this operating policies, this cost determination of cost is the basis. So these are all the objectives of cost accounting. Now we come to this elements of cost. Elements in the sense, in the product, in the production or manufacture of a product, the major elements, major particles, they are first we can say materials, labor and other expenses. First of all, materials. This materials cost may be classified as direct materials and indirect materials. Direct materials are those materials or the raw materials which are directly used for producing the product. They are materials which can be identified and can be measured and directly charged to a particular product. Say for example, if a timber is used in a furniture making, that portion of timber can be particularly and directly charged to the particular furniture. Likewise, when we produce sugar can be used. So this sugar can, cost of sugar can raw material can be directly charged to the product. Likewise, bricks in building a house, papers used in notebook, and thread in textile industry, leather in shoemaking, cloth in garments, clay in bricks. These are all the examples to this. Now, indirect materials also there. Indirect materials are those which are not directly used for manufacturing the product. Then another important element of cost is direct labor. So direct labor, laborers who are directly working with the machine and working with the working for the production of goods. They are labors which can be conveniently identified and contributed wholly to a particular job, wholly to a particular product or process, whatever it is. Now, for example, we can say that wages to workers who are directly engaged in production. Then, direct expenses are chargeable expenses. Apart from this material and labor, there are certain expenses which are directly charged. That is, excise duty which are paid for purchase of raw material, cost of rectifying defective work in the sense of repairs and maintenance of machine, and also this surveyor's fees, expenses of designing or drawing a model. Next, about the overheads. So the first three elements, material, labor and other expenses, those are the major elements of cost. And apart from that, this overhead, we can say it is an aggregate total of all indirect expenses. namely indirect material, indirect labor and indirect expenses. So collectively all these are called as overheads. This overheads cannot be conveniently you can charge to a specific cost unit. That means a specific product, process or a department, whatever it is. So we can say that overheads is equal to indirect materials, indirect labor and indirect expenses. This overheads can be classified into three, that is production overhead, administration overhead and selling and distribution overhead. Now in this, we can say that production overhead, can generally say that production overhead is the additional other than direct expenses. Other than direct expenses, direct material which are used for production, all indirect costs which is connected with the manufacture of a product. That for example, we can say that lubricants, soaps, water, power, cotton waste, thread and also oil, fuel, all these are indirect material connected to production overhead. When production overhead relates to some indirect wages also, that is wages of supervisor, wages of works manager, foreman's salary and the persons who are assisting to that place. Indirect expenses, factory rent. So this is only related to production place or shop, whichever is related to that. Factory rent, rates, depreciation on machinery. We can also take factory lighting, electricity only for factory, then power, light, heat, insurance of factory building and depreciation on machinery, all those things. Another one is classification of overhead is administration overhead. So this administration overhead expenses which are related to administration of business. So here also we can say, we can classify administration overhead as indirect materials, indirect labor and indirect expenses. Indirect materials related to administration is office forms, stationery, printing and other materials which are relevant for administrative purpose. Indirect labor is office manager's salary, that is laborers or workers who are working in or for administration. Office manager's salary, clerk's salary, audit fees, director's fees, everything. Indirect expenses related to this administration overhead is expenses related to office building, whatever it is, rent and rates of office building, electricity charges to that, legal charges, depreciation on office furniture, depreciation on office equipment. Some other equipments also can be taken for this purpose. Then selling and overhead expenses also there. So selling and overhead expenses related to selling the product expenses which are meant for selling the goods. Then we come to this characteristics of a good costing system. So each and every business, mostly small business, due to their expensive nature, they are not willing to install costing system. But in large organizations, they will install this costing system, but there are certain characteristics which are relevant or prerequisite to this costing. First of all, suitability. Suitability in the sense, the costing system that the organization follows, it should be suitable to the nature, requirements, conditions and size of business. So whatever be the nature, whatever be the size, the costing system should be suitable to that institution or that organization. Now when come to this simplicity, the system should be very simple and easy to understand by all the people, all the employees and the workers who are all working there. Even an average person or a layman in the sense, a person who is not having knowledge about that system also, he can easily understand to that system. Next comes flexibility. So that costing system should be flexible enough to make changes according to the changes in environment, changes in their business situation and all those things. So it should be flexible to be changed according to their changing conditions. And next one is economical. Economical, it should not be expensive. So expensive in the sense they have to compare the benefits they derive from this costing system and the cost involved in that costing system. So normally the benefits should be more than the cost they involve in that system. Next to this economical comparability. Comparability in the sense they are comparing the figures. So after ascertaining the cost, profit and other overheads, whatever they ascertain the figures, that should be compared with the past figures. Past figures in the sense in the previous year or in the previous month, whatever be the past period they take for comparison, it should be comparable. Then accurate and timely information. So accuracy is very much important in each and every cost system because that cost is the basis for fixation of price. So the system must be, they have to give accurate information and timely information to the management. So this helps the management to take decision with regard to various problems and also to make cost control. And the system must reduce clerical work. Clerical work, to reduce clerical work in the sense, there should not be duplication of work. There should not be duplication and also there should not be any mistake in that also, malpractice and also duplication of work. So in that way, the system should be able to reduce their clerical work. Another point is, they must provide adequate wage system and procedure. So wage system, that is, how they are calculating wage to the workers, what method they are using. So there are various methods, methods in the sense manual methods and also with bonus schemes also there. Bonus schemes, time wage, piece rate and also there. So the wage system and the procedure to be followed, they have to provide it adequately to the employees. And the system should be formulated for the collection, allocation, apportionment and absorption of overhead in order to find out cost accurately. That is, whatever system they follow, they have to formulate in what way they are going to collect the cost, how they are allocating, in what method of apportionment. In apportionment also there are 2-3 methods are there. So in what method they are apportioning the overheads and also absorption of overhead. So that should be clearly mentioned in that. Now finally, a good costing system should be clearly stated the duties and responsibilities of the cost accountant, because they have to follow this cost accountant. The role of cost accountant is very much important because they are presenting the cost details and the report to the management for taking managerial decisions. Now, there are certain difficulties. Whatever be the good costing system they follow, there are certain difficulties, practical difficulties in installing a costing system. First of all, there is lack of support and cooperation from top management. We can say in most of the organization, there is no support and cooperation for the introduction of costing system from top management. So the top management, they themselves may not be interested in installing a proper costing system. Then lack of trained staff. So the cost accountant who is handling the cost works in the sense collection of cost, recording and apportioning, absorption, whatever it is. So the cost work functions, the person, cost accountant who is doing that cost account work functions may not be well trained. So his efficiency also be affecting. Next, expensive. So the costing system, operating a costing system may be heavy. So small organizations may not be able to install costing system. Only large organizations can easily install this kind of system. So this is expensive, is also practical difficulty in this, and non-cooperation at other levels of organization. So first we have seen that non-cooperation in top management, but other levels in the sense next to the top management level, department head, supervisors, foremen and operating force. Operating force are the workers who are working at low level. So all the stages there is non-cooperation, because they may not be giving proper measures or proper amount, rate, whatever it is, proper records for costing. So non-cooperation at other levels is also a practical difficulty. And finally, resistance from the existing accounting staff. Resistance is not accepting. They are not accepting whatever changes is there. So because they feel that they are not given more importance. So when they give proper details, when they have costing system and cost works accountants and all those things, the accounting staff, they may feel that they lose their importance due to that introduction. So they are resistant to give the details. And these are all about introduction to cost accounting and other things. Thank you.